Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He's a former Army Ranger who sits on the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, I appreciate you being with us. So we saw this social media post from President Trump where he said, Vladimir, stop. He said that's pushing back on these attacks. At the same time, Trump appears to be convinced that Russia wants peace. Have you seen any evidence of that?
Well, Donald Trump's post ought to do it, right, Anderson? We're dealing with one of the world's most brutal dictators in Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump just posted on social media that he ought to knock it off. I mean, listen, this is beyond embarrassing now. This is a danger to American national security. It's a danger to global security because Donald Trump is being played exactly the way in which anyone who understands how Vladimir Putin works knows that he would play Donald Trump. He's drawing this out. He knows that time is on his side. Donald Trump did not solve this on day one like he promised to do and like we all knew that he wouldn't. And he's treating one of our biggest partners, Ukraine, who's the victim here, as just another belligerent party. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, and the constant tirades against Zelensky, the constant tirades against the Ukrainians only undermines the prospect for peace.
I mean, it seems if this was any other leader other than Vladimir Putin, President Trump would be insulted by the way he's being treated and just sort of disregarded, claiming that Russia is making a, quote, pretty big concession by agreeing not to take over the entire country. I mean, is that a concession to you?
No, that's not a concession at all. I mean, how could anyone think that that's a concession? Right? Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014. They re-invaded Ukraine in 2022. They are committing massive crimes. They've kidnapped tens of thousands of Ukrainian children and are holding them hostage in Russia. The actions of Vladimir Putin, Russia, are really beyond the pale. So, this false equivalency that Donald Trump and his administration attempt to position in a so-called attempt to achieve peace does nothing but embolden Vladimir Putin. The thing about Vladimir Putin is that we have known him for a very long time. We know how this guy operates. He's been on the scene for decades now. We know he never keeps promises. We know he only respects strength. We know he only does what he's forced to do. And we know that he believes that his legacy, his lifetime legacy, is rebuilding the Russian Empire for what it used to be, which includes vast swaths of Europe, including many of our allies.
Is it clear to you how, if President Zelensky refuses to make a deal, whatever that deal may look like, what the ramifications will be from this Trump administration towards Ukraine?
That's not clear to me, and I don't believe it's clear to anybody at this point. I mean, trying to understand what this administration is doing in any one particular national security issue, let alone this particular conflict, is very difficult, right? You have Pete Hegseth, who almost daily now there's some new revelation about him breaching some security protocol or texting his family, national security secrets. You have mass resignations in the Department of Defense, 2 months plus into this administration. I'm sitting here wondering who is at the wheel. What is going on at the National Security Council, at the DOD, at the State Department? It's very scary stuff. I've served much of my life in defense of this country. My very first assignment, taking the oath, was as an Army Ranger. There's very real threats facing this country. There are very real dangers that our troops go through every single day. And the fact that I do not have confidence now that any adults are in the room is very, very disconcerting, to say the least.
And is the U.S. deal, or is there a deal by the Trump administration with Ukraine over minerals? What is it? Do you know what the status of that is?
No, I don't believe anybody knows what the status of that is either. And listen, I'm not opposed to a deal like that, actually, right? I'm not opposed to peace. In fact, I think I want peace. The Ukrainians want peace more than anybody, as I mentioned. And like most wars, this war will likely end at a negotiating table, right? So there has to be a process, there has to be negotiation, there has to be peace. And I actually also am in favor of some type of deal that would help pay for some of the support and some of the weapons and equipment supplies that we are giving the Ukrainians. I'm not opposed to that. But the manner in which this administration goes about it, by posting on social media, by maligning or attacking our allies and partners, by allowing themselves to be played by the world's most brutal dictator, is not going to get us there.
Yeah, Congressman Crow, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.